beloved of the Lord. This is Bev Potter. It's Monday, September 24th, 2018. All right, well, I just wanted to let you know that the snow is almost gone. So by the end of today, I expect the rest will be gone. So that's good news, although it's only going up to 10 degrees Celsius today, so it's still on the cool side, but yeah, I'm hopeful that we'll have some pleasant weather before winter fully sets in, so that would be lovely. All right, today I wanted to share a dream that I had on Friday morning. It was very profound, and I felt that we could gain something from hearing it. So that's what I'm going to do. So that's what I'll start off with. So that was Friday, September 21st. All right. So the dream started out, the first scene, everyone was outside looking up, including myself, outside looking up into the sky because some extremely profound things were happening in the sky. Everyone was looking at the skies. And then the scene changed, and I was in, I believe it was a high rise, and there was a huge room, almost like a conference room, just a huge open space. And there was a door, and inside that room they had built a wall, like a second wall, and all it was like 1x6s that were about 7 or 8 feet tall, so down from the floor and up above people's heads, so they couldn't see that there was a door, although there was a door on the other side of that wall, that inner lining. It was wood on 3 sides, and then the outer wall was a massive plexiglass window. So everyone who was in that room could see out the plexiglass window, although there was also a plexiglass inner lining on that wall too, connected with the wooden wall. But they could see out. Now in this room were a lot of people who were extremely angry and violent, and there was fighting and screaming, and it was not good. I was a little concerned. My first thought was like, are these like zombie type people, or what's going on here? And next to me there was a man, and to me he looked like a guide from the outback in Australia. Like he was kind of dressed like that, and he was not particularly attractive. He was rugged looking, but I'll share a little bit more about him later. But he was there, and he explained to me the necessity of how they had put these people in this room, that for the moment that is what needed to be done for everyone's safety. So the people were in there, and I was watching them for a little while, and we were about to go and go shopping, get supplies or something like that with a few other people. So, but just before I left, I noticed that some of the people had started to realize that there was this inner wall and that they could actually climb it and get out. So when they were rational enough, they were able to figure out the way out of that room, but until they were rational, they couldn't get out. So that's why it was set up that way. So it kind of scared me though when they started to come over the wall, climb over the wall. They were climbing over the plexiglass wall first, and then I think they went around to the door. But by that time, I was gone. All right, so then the next scene was we had gone out to go shopping. Some people got ice cream, and some people got some supplies. And while we were out, like just walking through the streets, in the sky, there was this like flash, and you would see like there were these triangle shapes in the sky. Like the clouds had been cut out in so that you could see a triangle shape. So there was a triangle shape opening in the clouds. And then every so often, there would be a flash, and those triangles would light up orange. And so there were a number of triangles in the clouds, in the sky, just the outline of a triangle. And there was a lady that was there, and she said, "Oh, yeah," she said, "that's just a light show. They've got lights in behind, and they're just turning the lights on and off. It's just a light show, basically. So, like, nothing to worry about." So she knew what was going on. She had some understanding. Okay. So I just said, "Oh, is that how they do it?" Okay. So now these people in the room, as I said, had figured out how to get over that wall and out of the room. So they had actually come down to the street level as well. And I saw some of them just sitting like on a curb. And I looked at them, and I had been scared of them before, but when I looked in their faces, I saw that, well, first of all, they didn't look very healthy. They were very pale and kind of clammy looking skin, like just not healthy. But they didn't look bad. They didn't look like bad people. They had just been through a whole lot. So these were safe. They were safe people to be around. So, and I got the feeling later, like basically I'm gonna share something later, but this shaking that has to happen for God to wake people up. Some people are going to wake up, and they're going to be like grumpy morning people. It's going to be a shock to the system. So, yeah, the reactions aren't going to be super great. But that doesn't mean that they're bad people. Okay. And from there, I went with this guide and a few other people, that lady, and just maybe a couple of other people. And we went to this place that was a healing center. And we walked in, and it was a big open area when we first walked in. And I noticed that there was a wild animal there just wandering around. And I thought that was interesting, but it seemed safe enough. Sorry, I'm referring to my notes. I don't want to forget anything. Okay. All right, so then we continued through that open area into more of a room with like a nursing area where people could rest and stuff. And so there were beds in that room, kind of like an old-fashioned hospital, big hospital room. So we went in there, and there was another wild animal. And it was kind of like a dog, but it wasn't a dog. I don't even know what kind of wild animal it was. It was brown. And but it seemed to want to approach me, seemed to want to be friendly. So I reached out my hand to let it sniff me, and then I went to pat it, and then it just kind of reverted back to its wild state and just really growled and snarled at me, and it looked like it was about to snap, right? So I pulled my hand back. And this happened a couple of times, but I noticed that my guide, the man there, was watching very closely, and he was being very careful with me to make sure that I didn't get hurt by this animal. So that was good. All right. Okay, so this guide, I just want to say, he was rugged, but he was I found him very attractive. He was strong, he was capable, he was wise, he was good, and he was watching over everybody, and he was running the show. All right, so we were in this room, and I sat down on the bed. started, sorry, okay. Then, then he was standing there and he had like, I don't know if it was an Australian accent, but it was a strong accent. And he started to say, he was trying to speak in an American accent, and he was trying to say, we gone. But he couldn't really do it, and it was really, I found it so endearing the way he was trying so hard to sound American with his accent, but just not quite succeeding. But he kept saying that, we gone. All right, and I didn't realize the significance of that till later. Then I suddenly had an epiphany, I guess, and I was sitting on that bed and I looked at him and I said, do you realize this means the end of civilization as we know it? Yeah. I was so excited. And he's just looking at me with, this little smile. And I just got it. It's like all the corruption, all the violence, all the abuse, all the wickedness was about to end. I was so, because civilization as we know it has become a not great place. All of us can look around and say, wow, like the government, the corruption, it goes so deep, in every system we have, the religious system, the educational system, every system in this world is basically corrupt. So for this to end is a good thing. All right. And then my guide began to talk. He began to speak. But then all of a sudden, it's like the background noise was turned up and I couldn't hear him. And so he must have been sitting, because I was on the bed, but I had to lean over. Like I kept leaning closer and closer to his mouth. And I'm just going to be honest here. The thought went through my mind. It's like, oh, I hope I don't have any earwax showing. Okay. Anyway, that's how my mind works, I guess. So, but I kept leaning in and I had to get closer and closer to his mouth because I couldn't hear him clearly and I was desperate to hear him. And I was like an inch away from his mouth. And then I still couldn't hear him, so I had to keep tilting my head to try to get the angle right so that I would get the message, right? And so eventually I got the angle just right and I heard something. I heard like a short message. And then I got out of tune again. And so I began to just think about what I had heard. Unfortunately, I can't remember what it was. It was like scripture, but I didn't recognize it. But it came with authority. It was like scripture, the word of the Lord. So I was pondering what I had heard in the dream, because at that point I remembered what I had heard. And as I was pondering it, suddenly I was aware that he had put his head close to mine and leaned up against me, and he had taken a piece of stray hair and gently put it back into place. And I was surprised because I suddenly realized that it was a very intimate gesture. And I was suddenly aware of his attraction to me, which made me shy immediately. And I looked down, and then I just kind of looked around trying to process this. Like, oh my goodness. He is seeking a relationship. And then I was looking around and I noticed this animal that had snarled at me previously had crawled up on the bed and snuggled up against me and put his head on my chest. And I looked at him and he wasn't brown anymore. He was a grayish white. And he looked at me just like my dog looks at me, with these beautiful brown adoring eyes. And all he wanted was to snuggle up with me. And I petted his head just like my dog, and he just snuggled right in there. And there was no more of his old nature. His old nature had just gone. And I realized that Neville Johnson says that when our vibration is aligned with the Lord's vibration, that creation will recognize us as friends. And I felt that I had been reconciled to creation. Creation now understood that I was its friend, and I felt like it was more than just this particular animal, but all of creation. And I think that was the end. Yeah, that was the end of the dream. And I woke up feeling loved by this wonderful person that was in my dream, and adored by this sweet animal. And it was so real and so profound that I carried that all day and the next day. And I can still go back to that experience and feel that love and intimacy again. So there were a few things about that dream that I felt were important. Well, the signs in the sky. I felt that the woman who understood what was going on was representing the Holy Spirit. And of course, I believe the man who was our guide was the Lord. And okay. So, and that he's got everything planned out. Like, even those people who got woken up a bit maybe abruptly ended up being okay, because he knew what they needed at the time, and he knew how to handle everyone and everything. All right, so I believe this ties in with a word that I received recently by an email. It was forwarded to me from Julie at Behold I Come. She has it's called I Am Calling You Now.blogspot.com. I'll try to put the link in the description box below. But I believe that we're on the brink of this major change, and her word is like long, but you can read it for yourself. I just wanted to read a section to you because I believe it relates to the dream. All right, so this is the Father speaking. I will make myself known through the judgments, even as I comfort all who mourn. I do not take away without giving, and my gift is eternal. I must strip to open the eyes to my spirit, for the complacency that has taken over the world has lulled most to sleep, and they are not being drawn, and they are being drawn deeper and deeper into a numbing reality that does not even exist. I must shake to awaken, and although in its appearance it may appear harsh, this is the only way. My design for more to be saved. Watch, and you will see the outpouring of my Spirit as a result of the tearing down of all that man has exalted above me. It was the same way in the past, as it is written, so it shall be again. For those who call themselves mine, walking in intimacy with me, I will honor my word in that you have the peace that only I provide through the darkness. You will maintain the joy and gladness of heart because you too understand the need to shake the lost out of their slumber, lest they be lost forever. Your prayers will mitigate the suffering, and every word you utter is heard. These last few events, judgments, are only the beginning, my child. You have not seen anything yet. All that can be shaken will be shaken. It is written, it will be done. Do not focus on the events. Look to me, or you will not be able to retain the peace and steadfastness I provide. I will keep your feet securely anchored, and in me you will remain unshakable, although all around you crumbles. You will not be moved. I will remain at your right hand, counseling you and directing your every thought and step. Extreme focus is the command I give you. Now that, I believe, relates to the dream in when there was that white noise all around. I knew I needed to hear his words. And it was like I had to press in. And then eventually I was able to get something to hold on to. So extreme focus is the command I give to you. I must come first in all things. For my faithful ones I come quickly. My reward is with me, and I will give every man according as his work shall be. Remember, as the darkness descends, my light in you shall radiate. A great and joyful noise will resound in the heavens as my glory fills the earth. Watch and see what the great I am is doing in the earth. It is only dark for the lost, but this is why you came, my precious jewels. They will know me through my anointed and set apart ones, and there will be no doubt of my great love for my creation. There will be no doubt of my great love for my creation. Hallelujah. Thank you. All right. Now, I just want to mention that this isn't not the first time I've had an intimate experience with the Lord. I had one 9 years ago. And I only want to say this because I want you to realize how little Satan knows. It was only recently that the Lord helped me to understand what had taken place about 9 years ago. Okay, so I had that experience. Many people have had this experience, but I know at least of one other person who's had this experience, and she said she knows of others. Now, that experience happened when we were down in Phoenix, Arizona, or a little town south of Phoenix, Maricopa. All right. So when we left Phoenix to come back to Canada, we went across the United States and up into Canada in Ontario. And when we were in Ontario, we went to visit a church there, a large church, a well-known church. And after one of the meetings, they asked people to go to one of the back rooms and share what the Lord had revealed to them or shown them so that they could keep a record for posterity. I'm not sure. They just wanted to record the things that the Lord was revealing. So I did go back because I felt that I was supposed to share about that experience. But it was very odd because anyone I had shared that experience with, was like, wow, that's so beautiful. And, I would love to have an experience like that, or, that kind of reaction from believers. But it was, what I found odd was that the lady who came to speak to me and record it, she had a helper with her. And as I shared the story, she had no reaction at all, made no reaction whatsoever. And she turned to her helper and said, "He's awakening love." I thought, what? Why is she talking about Jesus? Like it's not a personal thing. And it was only recently that I realized that the enemy had infiltrated that church to get intel on what God was doing in his kingdom. So I just wanted to mention it because that's how little the enemy knows of what's really going on. He has to try to get his information secondhand because he does not have a direct link to God. All right, so I just want to mention that. And this also brought a verse to mind, Isaiah 29:14, where it says, "Therefore once more I will astound these people with wonder upon wonder." That whole section is really good, and I think it all relates, but I'll leave that for you to look up if you like. All right, so I think that's all I wanted to share today. I thought that there are things in that dream that are important to know about, and I hope you found some encouragement in there as well, and perhaps some direction. So, Father, I just ask that you would help us to press in to you, to press into your heart. And sorry, I'm hearing footsteps outside. Press into your heart, Lord, that we would hear your word for us, that you would give us each day, and this day, our daily bread. Thank you that you are with us, and that you are in all that is about to transpire, and that you will never leave us or forsake us, and you will be our help, our ever-present help in times of trouble. Thank you, Lord, for being so good and so merciful to us. Bless each one watching. Comfort our hearts. Fill us with the knowledge of your love and your mercy and your great grace towards us. Give us your perspective on what you are doing, in that you love each and every one so much that you are not willing to allow them to go